Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Square Table Degenerates podcast. I'm your host, Joe, as always. For those of you who are just joining us from around the world and in the United States and Nigeria, this is a show we do here on Friday nights in Cleveland, a suburb of North Olmsted, Ohio. It's a suburb of Cleveland. It's 9:30 here in Ohio. I think it's like 2:30 over in Nigeria right now. To the right of me is Tom. Say hi, Tom.
Hey, how's it going?
What's up, buddy?
Hey.
Right to the box below me is Pat. How you doing, buddy?
How's it going?
Good. And to the right, bottom right, is our special guest. Her name is Ocha. Is that correct?
Ocho.
Ocho. Okay. I'm so sorry, man. I got one more guy joining us too. It's my buddy Dennis. So now we got the Olympics going on. Dennis is joining us from Arizona. How you doing, buddy?
Doing good. How about you?
Not too bad. Not too bad.
Hi, Dennis.
So Dennis, how was Dennis, what was Sedona like? Did you get to do some sightseeing real quick?
No, I just went to I went to this bar I go to a lot of times when I come up here.
Okay.
I had a drink and then I went. I mean, I took some pictures on the scenic walk, but that was it.
That's good. Now, Ocha, what do you what's the weather like today? Let's start out there. First off, hi, how are you doing? This is my first time talking to you.
I'm doing very well, thank you. It's a little hot, but then at the later of the evening, it got better and the weather changed. It's our raining season now. We don't have the summer, winter, spring like you guys do.
Okay. So when you guys go outside, is it just real? Do you have to? Is the rainy season just constant rain, or is it off and on, or how's that go?
Constant rain.
Oh my
In fact,
God.
last week it rained 7 days straight.
Oh, we.
Ugh. Oh, I don't know if I can take that. Oh, that stinks.
Constant.
If it rains 1 day and 2 days in a row out here, we're freaking out. Whoa. For those of you who just joined us too, it's the 4th of July weekend out here in America, so there may be a lot of booms in the background because I got the garage door open. So if you hear a giant boom, that's just everybody celebrating whatever we celebrate here. Joining me too is my wife Kim. She's on the show today for the first time ever. 56 shows in a year and a half. It's awesome. But
Hi, Kim.
So Ocha, where did you grow? Were you born in Nigeria? Tell us your story. Tell us about how you grew up.
Okay. I am a Nigerian. I was born in Nigeria. I've lived in Nigeria all my life. I'm here to travel to anywhere. But yes, we have 36 states in Nigeria, and I've been to 22 thus far.
Okay. You've never traveled outside of the country yet?
No, I haven't, but hopefully this year I will. I was supposed to start making plans, but then COVID struck us, and then we had to stay back a little and wait till everything got better. So hopefully I get to start working on a few things by next month.
Okay, yeah. Dennis, my buddy Dennis to this way. If you look at the box, this way, I think. No, this way. This way. One of that way. But he was in Mexico. Dennis, where were you when all this stuff hit and then you got stuck and then you came back right the last day? Was that Colombia or Mexico? Where were you?
Yeah, I was in Colombia, South America.
And we were talking about it. We were doing a show just like this, and I was like, buddy, you better get home right now because they're about to close everything. And sure enough, he spent how much you spent? Like $300 to get home right away.
Yeah.
It
wasn't bad. It didn't.
So
America is usually pretty cheap, so.
All right, so what's a typical day like for you when you get up in the morning and just do your daily stuff? What would you describe a typical day like?
COVID has added extra routines to my regular routine. So now I do yoga more. Basically, when I wake up, I say my prayers. I start with my yoga. If I'm not on my yoga, I'm on my workout or my meditation. I cook. I'm a chef.
Okay.
Oh, nice.
So,
What's your specialty?
cuisines, Nigerian cuisines, strictly Nigerian cuisines. So I'll cook. I check my business page for any others that I may have pending. I look up on it and I try to send my orders to my customers and clients. real quick. I log on to different logistic companies and courier services to help me deliver food to different locations. I cook for about 2 offices. So I check on the menu list. What do they have for lunch? I call a few persons to come and help me out. As soon as I'm done with that, on Wednesdays, I prepare for my podcast. On Fridays, I drop episodes. I haven't dropped episode in about 2 weeks because I took a break. I'm trying to push the previous episodes I have already.
Mm.
So basically, uh,
Okay.
my routines are just workout, cook, podcast, and a couple of few things. Try to be more active on Instagram. I'm trying to promote a few pages. Um, I'm trying to also learn about content writing.
Okay.
Joe, do you have links for those? You can post those.
Yeah. If they're what's the name of your podcast? And I was looking it up earlier, and I listened to some of it on the on Anchor there. What describe your podcast or tell us the name of your show?
Plus size advocate
And it's
on
called
Anchor, and you can air. I think it's available on Anchor. It's available on Castbox and on Google Podcast.
I think I
Cool.
can link it here. Hold on.
Oh, Dennis moved outside. That's nice.
Dennis,
You can't
Dennis
you
is clear out in
can't
Arizona right now.
Yeah, thanks for showing us what outside Arizona looks like. Rubbing it in. Thank you. Appreciate it. Dickhead.
All right, bear with me here. I was like, you know what? On the show description, I did link the show here.
Yeah.
The-
Oh, Joe, when you mentioned you're going to travel, where are you going to go to?
Yeah, where would you like to visit?
What were
I
your
would
what?
really love to visit the United States because I have friends in US, but then Nigeria is, what would I call it? We are facing some really twisted or really hard issues right now with, when I say with Trump, or just the country as a whole.
Mhm.
Basically, the number of Nigerians that was denied visa last year was like,
Let's say you
don't
tried to apply
apply
for
for
visa.
visa, don't try another country. That's how it has been. And I'm still going to try. I'm definitely going to try because a
Well,
few friends
well, we're in the
have been
states.
like, oh,
What state?
Florida.
Florida.
Florida. You don't want to go there now.
Yeah,
I
you
have
don't want
like
to go there right
some
now.
friends.
You don't want to go there right now. It's a hot spot for the COVID.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Oh
unfortunately.
yeah, what's happening in Florida? Why?
Oh yeah, the corona's getting pretty bad down there.
Corona's there.
well,
Oh
they
right.
opened up early in Florida, and then
Yeah,
what
it's a hot
happened was
spot for the
everybody went to
Corona.
the beach. Yeah, everybody went to the beach, and a bunch of people, the cases went through the roof, so they got so now they shut down a lot of stuff again down there. So I think everybody here's been to Pat. You've been to Florida, right? And so have you, Dennis, right? I think everybody's been to Florida.
I've been there.
No, not
I have been.
a year or so.
Yeah.
Florida's
Where do we go in Florida?
Anywhere in Florida you particularly were going to go, or were you thinking about going?
I don't know yet. But then my brother-in-law is still trying to get a place. Until then, I'm definitely going to be staying over at his when he does. So I don't know particularly for now. But then I I don't know. I'm still trying to know if I'm going to go to Florida actually because I don't want to try and get denied visa. So I think I'm just going to go to a country where the chances of getting visa is like maybe almost 80 or 90% possible.
Oh
We've
wow.
gotten advices from
Gotcha.
Do you speak any
the
other
people at the
languages?
embassies.
Do you speak any other languages?
I know I'm trying to learn Spanish, but
Mhm.
then no, don't
I was
ask me
just wondering
anything
because
else
the other
from
countries, if you're going to visit other ones, sometimes if you're able to speak French or
yeah.
Spanish, that kind of opens up other countries might want to visit.
Now, how does the visa process work in Nigeria? How did you is there a lottery, or how does that work?
You have to be. I think you have to be. You're either applying for K1 visa or student visa. So whichever it is, but I think the one you really have like the one we have luck and then the possibility of getting visa is for the student visa, if I'm not mistaken. That's the one that hardly gets bounced. Like they hardly bounce it when it's a student visa. If you're applying for a student visa, the possibility of you getting it as long as you fit into all the requirements and the school you're applying to has given you admission. It's almost rare not to get access. The K1 visa is, I think, the one just for the 90 days fiance and just for maybe you're getting married to a citizen or whatever.
Now, do you live in? I saw you live in Lagos. Is that right?
Yes, yes.
So you're right by the beach then, or how far are you from the ocean there?
For about 45 minutes.
Oh wow! So do you get to go to the beach a lot, or are you a big ocean fan, or what's up there?
I would I would really have loved to be going to the beach like every weekend. But then the traffic in Lagos
Nice.
is terrible.
How many people live in Lagos? Would you say it's several million? Is it not?
Yeah, about 20 million of us.
Oh wow, that's a population of two New York cities, pretty much. That's insane. Wow. So yeah, so you just go to the beach and it's just traffic out the yin. Yeah, that's how it is sometimes in the summer here for like spring breaks. We have this thing called spring break in the springtime up here in America, and people will just go to all the Florida and North Carolina and all the hot weather states, and they'll just jam up the freeways all the time. It happens every spring. So that sounds like it's the same thing over there. That's awesome.
Oh yeah. It's the same coming up here. I got stuck in the middle of nowhere.
You guys, well, that's because you ran out of gas at this point.
No.
Now, how far in when you're driving around Nigeria, what are the other paved roads or what's the like interstate system? How does that work? Do you is there the big the train system big there? How do you normally get around?
There are no efficient train systems in Nigeria at the moment. You're either taking the regular transport bus or you're going with your own personal car, or of course you're flying. And if you stay in the north, all the way from Lagos, it might take you a day or two to arrive at your destination.
Now,
Yes,
how far is Lagos from how do you pronounce the capital? Is it Ahuba? How do you pronounce that?
Abuja,
Okay, how far are you from that in terms of driving?
mm, 18 hours.
Oh wow. Yeah, I checked on the CIA fact book, and Nigeria is about 6 times the size of Georgia. For those of you who are watching in the states, it's about twice. Two Californias is about the size of it. It's about two Iraqs. If you've ever been to Iraq, it's about twice the size of that. So it's quite big, man. Huge. All of us have been in the service. Well, not Pat hasn't been, but me, Tom, and Dennis were all in the Iraq War way back when. But yeah. So that's a
You don't know
pretty
where you don't know I haven't been there.
Pat. Yeah, Pat. You're covert ops. That's
You know I
We
haven't
have
been
no
there.
idea. I mean, he has a beard like special forces right now.
That's awesome, man. So what would you say is
I'm gonna
do
be
they
there
have a
right
lot?
now.
We gotta ask you some American questions here. Like when you say you go to downtown, Lagos, could you have a McDonald's? Is there a Burger King? What American stuff would you have if you went downtown?
What American stuff would I want?
Like say you went downtown, you just went to the beach and went to the tourist area of Lagos. What like is there any American influence there? Would you see any restaurants like McDonald's or anything like that?
Um, I think we only have maybe what we have. Would I say we have in common, or we
All
both
right.
got Domino's pizza? What else? There are not so many things in Nigeria that is most likely to remind you or give you a feel of America. I doubt.
you see many when you go out and about? Have you run into many Americans visiting? Is it I mean, like say like people like what you're watching here, like say people on tourists, stuff like that. Do you ever run into many different people from say the UK or the US, stuff like that, or what?
We have more people from the United Kingdoms visiting Nigeria than we have from the United States.
Okay. What is now? What kind of when you guys have houses and stuff like here in the States? We all typically have just a house and you live with your spouse or kids or whatever. What is the living situation like that? Does people typically get apartments? You guys have houses? I mean, how do you guys stay?
Mm. Okay, in Nigeria it's different. If, for instance, my dad own the house we live in, and in Nigeria, once you can buy an empty land, build your choice of house on it, and it's yours for life. There's nothing like paying mortgage or tax on your houses. No, it's not like that in Nigeria. Once you buy a house, you buy it like it's yours for life. You're not paying nothing on it no more. And for the house rent, it depends. It varies. We have Lagos Island and we have Lagos mainland.
Okay.
Lagos Island is extremely expensive. It's almost double the price for the houses you will get in the mainland. And the cost of living on the island is on the high side.
What's the traffic
So,
like on the island compared to the mainland? Same or different? Little bit.
uh, it's I don't know. I'm looking for a word to qualify it. It's really terrible. The traffic is crazy. For a journey that is not supposed to be up to 30 minutes, when the Lagos traffic starts, you can be in there for 4 hours.
4 hours. So
Happen.
so a
That's like
10
LA
minute a 10
traffic.
minute drive takes 4 hours.
Yeah.
I thought LA, California. Okay, once I had a 45-minute drive, and it took me about 4 hours. I thought that was a long time, and that took me forever. I went from Oceanside to like San Diego in California once, and it took me 4 hours, a 45-minute drive. So she's saying 10-minute drive in Lagos is going to take you about 4 hours. That's mind-boggling. I'd just rather walk at that point. You know what I mean? Jeez. So, do you guys what sporting events would you say are popular in Nigeria? You guys big football, soccer fans, stuff like that, or what's the national sport? What do you guys typically watch in that normal day?
Soccer is like the only and most common sport in Nigeria. We see that there are so many soccer centers where people gather to see footballs when it starts, the likes of Premier Leagues and all. That's like the major thing or the major sport Nigerians are really, really, really a fan of. And because we also participate when it comes to the football, that's why really Nigerians are up on their toe when it comes to soccer. That's the only sport really that's like extremely popular and common everywhere you go in Nigeria.
Okay, what about basketball? You guys play a lot of basketball. I know Hakeem Olajuwon's from Nigeria. Does he, any basketball was kind of fading out over there? How's basketball over there? Would you say?
I would say if I don't know so much about basketball, it means it's not popular in Nigeria. Yeah, it is there, but then it's not something we get to see like often. Boxing is another thing, and that's because of Anthony Joshua. He's got like huge fans here in Nigeria, and he visits home really often. He was here last year. He came here. Yeah, it was in Nigeria this year too. I think early February before the lockdown. So I think after soccer, boxing, yeah.
Okay. Dennis, do you have any questions for?
No, you said I heard you say that you wanted to visit the U.S. What other places? I travel a lot, but and also I guess I would. What do you recommend I visit when I come to visit Nigeria?
Mm, I recommend that you try our street food.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I
I'd
love
also
that.
recommend that you go to the island. That's where in Lagos we do not have any beach on Lagos mainland. The only places you can find beaches are on the island. So you definitely want to visit Lagos Island when you come.
Sounds awesome. So I can't wait to visit. Probably next year. I think I will be visiting Africa. As long as the virus and everything is not too bad, I think I'll be ready to make my first visit.
Hopefully, get some cheap flights.
Yeah, hopefully.
What would you say is describe Nigerian street food? You got me intrigued now because I love street food, like street tacos and stuff like that. What is typical? Like, say I was leaving the bar and I was like, all right, let's get some food. What typical Nigerian street food be like?
Uh, we have snacks. There's this snacks. I was talking to an American, I think last week, and I was super amazed that they don't have that snacks in the US. I'm like, oh, I thought every snacks we eat here like actually originated from probably US or Italy or France. But then it's puff puff. That's what we call it. Puff puff.
Puff
It's
puff.
to die for. If you come here and you don't hit puff puff from the streets in Nigeria, Lagos precisely, you need to be questioned. You might have had the wrong tourist people take you around.
So I definitely
That's
got
something you just want to try.
That's fine. There's actually quite a few different YouTube videos of Nigerian puff puff.
Yes, please.
Now I gotta watch some of those. see what's in it.
We're gonna have to have Jay. We got some shout outs here. Murph's in the house. What's up, Murph? Jason's listening. Jason, you have to cook us some what's it called? Puff puff? I have to try. We're gonna have to eat that shit. Cook some of that stuff. Buddy. What's up, Brian? Brian's here listening too. That's awesome, man. Tom, you got some questions?
I don't think so. I mean, I had one. I was thinking about it and I forgot it. Main thing is that I don't know. I'm blanking. I was thinking of something earlier about either like travel or food. I forget what it was. But
I'm interested in the music. What's a typical like? Do you guys listen to a lot of American music? Do you know any music artists? Or you guys look at your own music scene, or what's up with that?
Nigeria music industry has like they are upgrading. They are really, really trying. What broke the internet, I think last year was when one of our best hip hop artists featured Chris Brown on his
Oh,
single.
nice.
It was mind blowing. It paused the internet for like social media, YouTube for days. The day he released the song, it had 10 million views that same day. It
was it
Wow.
was crazy.
DeVito?
10,
Yes.
10 million views. Man, that's crazy. Think about it though. If Nigeria is about, you think double the size of Florida or double the size of California to be established. So that's and then it's got 240 million people. California has only got what, probably 80 million, 70, 80 million, something like that. So that's quite a population density.
California was about 40. I think 40 million.
Well, okay, Google. How many people live in California? We'll find out.
That's it. 80 million. That's it.
All right, that's 39 million. So there's about 40, 45 million people in California. So figure
Yeah, 80
population
Wow.
density. The population density in Nigeria is about 3-4 times what it is in California. If you've ever been to California, some areas they live right on top of each other. So imagine that. That's pretty packed. Pretty packed in the city. And it sounds like everybody's stuck in traffic at the same time too. So it sounds pretty much just like California. Have you met any celebrities out there? Have you randomly been at a concert and you're like, hey, here's this famous guy from Nigeria or anything like that? Or what's going on with that?
Have I met any celebrity? Yes, I think I've met a couple of artists, but I've seen more of our actors. But then I think I saw two actors last year. I saw my auntie off to the airport. She was traveling on an office assignment to Georgia, and we took her to the airport. So I think I met two artists. They were also traveling the same day. I don't do well with snapping pictures with artists or celebrities generally because I don't know. Maybe I'm trying to be extra careful. I don't want nobody to, be some type of way. And I try to like observe from far. I want to tell your mood. maybe by just looking at your face. So sometimes I just wave and hi, hello. I worked with a celebrity last year while they were preparing for the Miss Nigeria contest, but then it was strictly work. We had to like plan the event, and
Okay.
I was taking care of the snacks and the food for the event. That's how I was able to see one actor.
What would you say your podcast is about? I met you in there's a YouTube group. I think it's called Small YouTube Group or something like that. I can't remember exactly what we're talking about, but I noticed it's about some kind of body positive stuff. Explain more about what you're getting into, why you got into podcasting, and what you hope to accomplish through your end goal there.
Okay, my podcast is centered on giving or being a voice to plus size leaders, every and all plus size leaders. Initially, when I started, people were like, okay, you cannot just be talking about plus size ladies. How about the guys? Won't you ever have something for us? I'm like, okay, my podcast is centered on plus size in general. So plus size lady, plus size guys, plus size, and I know what it is right now. Nigeria is um it's not much of a country that body shames anybody, but then what we see on social media every day tagged as the perfect body, especially the influence Nigerians and Africans are starting to get from other countries. It's a little it messes with people's mind a lot, and my family, my younger sister is also big, and at some point when she gained admission into college, she started to feel some type of way. We had conversations, and it felt like she was beginning to lose herself,
Mhm.
and I started to feel the gap. So I was like, okay, I don't know how many people out there are feeling the same way my younger sister might be feeling. I cannot have access to every and all of them. I cannot call them up to speak to them because I don't know all of them for sure. But then if I have a medium where I can put up stuff every day to talk about how much you should have confidence in yourself and how much you should never let anybody, tear you apart because of what you look like, and how much, of course, exercise is important regardless of your weight, your size, your body figure. If I can tell my sister this in the house, what about those outside I do not have contact with
Okay.
on a day-to-day basis? So I'm like, okay, my
Okay.
podcast can be a
You
platform to
too.
reach out to more and more people. And the very first episode I
All
made,
right.
I was a little indifferent, like did I do well? Did I try? Was I audible enough? Did I flop? Did I say different words, or did
Two
I
rooms.
pronounce some things differently? I was being super careful, but then the reviews I got made me pay less attention to the way I pronounce my words or my accent. I was super excited that I could reach out to the people and then I could have positive influence on people. I had like close to 23% of those listening to my podcast now are from the United States,
Oh wow.
and it's been awesome. The journey has been amazing. So basically, my major aim for starting the podcast is to reach out to every plus size person out there, the little way I can, give them confidence and try to always make them remember, regardless of what you are or what you look like, you should never forget you have a goal. You're supposed to attain something, you're supposed to get somewhere. Putting your body size or your body figure aside, you have a set goal for yourself. That should be your ultimate target and nothing more.
Nice.
That's a good message. That's
Yeah, I
good.
like the message a lot.
Very, very good advice. Love it.
Yeah, my wife's sitting there. My wife Kim, she's not on camera right now, but yeah, she say hi. So you're not
Hello.
alone. You're not the only girl in the house today, but yeah, she would say the same thing. I mean, you got to be happy with who you are, man. If you're not, so many people are just bent up on, why don't I look like this? Why don't I look like that? And I need to lose this. And just be happy with who you are. and then in the end, everything else will be figured out. If you think you're too heavy, lose some weight. If you think you're too skinny, gain some weight. But you have to be happy with yourself first, or else you're not going to be able to do anything in life. That's a great message. I really like that. You know what I mean?
It doesn't have to be physical. It can be mental. It's come on, calm down.
Right. You want to be mentally all there before you're anything at all. Even Pat there on that. Joe, do you have any questions for us about America? We're in Ohio. Anything going on you'd like to know about the states?
Yeah. I would like. I've spoken to a few persons about the protest for Black Lives Matters, but then I'm opportune to be with 4 people from America. I would like to hear your own opinion on the protest.
She's asking about our opinions about Black Lives Matter. Well, we're very pro Black Lives Matter on this show. I mean, I think we got a banner here, don't we? Where's our banner? We had a Black Lives Matter banner here at one time. Bear with me here. Give me about 10 seconds. Here we go.
Nope.
Does that show up?
Oh yeah, you can see it.
That's the background. Hold on. We had an overlay. Here's the overlay. There we go. Black Lives Matter. But yeah, we're basically in the States. But for those of you who don't know, if you're watching from Nigeria or around the world, about 3-4 weeks ago, I can't remember exactly when George Floyd passed away, but a gentleman up in Minneapolis, Minnesota, was being arrested, and a police officer had his knee on his neck, and he said, I can't breathe, and I'm having issues, and he passed away. And within the next week or two, there was storms and protests and violence. In several cities, they burned down some things in different areas. And what the message on him, and me personally, and Dennis agrees with me to an extent, and so does Tom, is that after a while you have to acknowledge that Black lives do matter, and that there's a point to all these protests, which there kind of was, because there's talk of massive police change. Now, Dennis, you're kind of more of an expert on this because you know this from both sides. Explain some of your background in this, and what the consensus generally of the group is on something like this.
I don't know if I can speak for the entire group. I can speak for myself. Someone, of course, I'm Black, and I've also, worked in law enforcement myself. So, well, I mean, you look at the George Floyd incident. I mean, I don't think there's any, ambiguity. It was wrong. They killed the man. For practically over nothing. It's supposedly a counterfeit, $20 bill. So I can't agree with that. On the other side of things, I don't think we need to abolish the police. I don't think that's a good idea. I think we need to keep the cops around. I think we should give them more money, so they can have better training, hire better people, make sure that they're getting training, on these issues, so that these things don't happen again.
And I think what's going to ultimately happen with a lot of, you'll hear a word a lot. The buzzword lately in America is defund the police. Defund. Now, a lot of people take that to meaning that we're just going to not have law enforcement anymore. That's not necessarily the case. But defunding the police is you take money that would otherwise be allocated for something like, okay, we're going to get tear gas in a ramjet for these cops, and they can just go ahead and, haul ass and take people to jail. Instead, we're taking this one. So, for example, the city of New York recently took $1 billion from the law enforcement, supposedly. Now they're not taking that away from all kinds of funding to serve the citizens. They might spend some of that on social work, some of that on programs to help people. So instead of arresting somebody just for existing, you can maybe find out what's wrong in their life, find out where they need help, maybe get them some help, so they're not just cast away by society. So I don't necessarily think that the quote defund the police is what everybody thinks it sounds like it is. Like, for example, for education, go ahead, Tom, but like education, for example.
It's a big misnomer to defund the police, because what it really is lower the funding of the police. And then you said allocate those funds to a different aspect. So instead of the police getting a brand new Ford Explorers every 2 years, maybe extend that out a little bit, and the money you would have spent towards new vehicles every 2 or 3 years or whatever it is, you put that towards social services, hire a couple extra social workers to be able to go into the jails and see if they can't help the people from it's recidivism rate. I forget the word.
Yeah, that's right.
Where they're coming back. So you arrest them, They go out on the street and you can arrest them again. Well, if you arrest them, get them working with a social worker, there's somebody that can help them get on their feet instead of just coming right back in it, or maybe having additional funds for, like anti-drug or what's the word? When you go back to when you try to get off drugs, what's the word?
Rehab.
Yeah, rehab, like rehab services, and take money that would normally be towards police and reduce it enough to where they're not able to have the funds to buy brand new SWAT tanks, and every officer and backup officer gets an M16 surplus from the military. Instead, to have that money be used towards prevention and helping people versus straight law enforcement, that kind of thing. So defunding the police, how they say it, the first thing that comes to mind is take all funding away from the police. Now we don't have police. We've got nothing. It's, the Wild West again. But that's not what it really is.
Well, it seems that not everyone agrees really on what it means, But I hear what you're saying. But because some people are like, yeah, we want to. There are some people on the extreme ends. They're like, yeah, I just want to get rid of the police. Other people, the stuff you're talking about, getting rid of.
There's extreme, and every place. And what happens is, and I'm not sure if you're familiar, with our political right is more conservative and our political left is more liberal. But every time, like, someone on one side says something, like the left says defund the police, their intentions may be, reduce funding, but then someone on the right may think that is take all funding away. We want to have complete anarchy, but there's a whole spectrum of the entire what can be done to help fix this system. Because I recently looked up our North Olmsted funding and where our funds are going, and half of our city budget is towards police and fire, and towards health services.
That's 30. We got 30 million people. Our town, which is we got 30,000 people that live in the town of North Olmsted. It's a suburb of Cleveland, Ohio, and we got. I would say I looked up the fund. I think for property taxes, they get about $71 million for property taxes. That's for this. I think the schools is like right up there, and then the police is like right after that. They got a lot of cops for an area that's this big. You know what I mean? And the whole thing is that there's so many levels of cops. Like you have city cops, then you have the county sheriff, then you have the state police, then you have any federal marshals you may have, then the FBI, then the CIA, and then there's some areas you can get arrested by like 10 different agencies. That makes no sense. Like if you were to come here and visit us in Ohio and say, hey, let's do something, and you wouldn't even know who was a cop and who wasn't, or a police officer to arrest you sometimes, because there's so many different levels. It's crazy the amount of money we spend on law enforcement in the country, and even the military too. If you want to get more into like defense spending, like we have such a big military that it's just they build so much stuff, and it's just so redundant in a lot of cases.
Yeah,
so much extra money.
Yeah, that's a whole another episode about like military funding and all that other stuff. But yeah, you're right. We've got so many different law enforcement agencies, and there's so many which ways you can be from different people can arrest you. And even then, once you're arrested, is the whole prison systems are all privatized, and so people are just making money in different places.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got any other? Go ahead.
If you are my friends were saying, if the protest did not happen, the officers might have not been apprehended or charged to court. Is that what do you think?
That's a big thing too. Yeah. So that's the big thing with the protests is that people have problems with the police officers having the good old boys club where if we're us three guys or police officers, we look out for each other's back, and if anybody does anything wrong, we just look the other way, because you don't want to be the guy to put your friend in a position where they have to be accountable for their actions, that kind of thing. Right. And there's stories where people who did, they were the good cop. They were the good cop that said, hey Joe, I don't think you should have done that. I don't think you should have used excessive force, that kind of thing. I'm sorry, I'm going to have to report you. And then what happens is I get ostracized. I get kicked off the police force, and then I get punished because of that, because I wasn't a team player. And so, yeah, there's lots of reports where people doing things wrong, or police officers may do something wrong, may overstep their bounds, may use excessive force. And what happens is it gets swept under the rug, or it may be looked the other way, or nothing happens until there's video of it and they get put on the spot, and then all of a sudden, oh, I guess we have to do something about it now.
And also too with that, what happens a lot of times, like for example here in Cleveland, you made a hear of this guy named Tamir Rice. This is about 6-7 years ago, and in Cleveland he had a BB gun and he was running around pointing at people. And this officer's name in Cleveland was Timothy Lehman, I think his name was. And after he was fired eventually, but what happened was he was hired right away, and maybe a month later, by another police force. So that was a lot of people's complaints, is that, how can these guys just do this? They don't get nothing charged with them. Nothing happens to them, and then they just go get another job with another police department. That's what a major, complaint of protesters and everything like that is that, even when we're doing right, even when we are listening, even when we are obeying the law, nothing happens to the officers. They just sweep it under the rug and they get a new job. And that's what people are really angry about. And that's what people are trying to change.
Who was the guy that was running down south that got killed by the retired detective? I forget his name.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, in Georgia.
Yeah, in Georgia. So basically, he was running through a neighborhood or whatever. He went in the house and came out, and then the two good old boys came and killed him with the shotgun in the truck or whatever. But he was like a retired detective, and basically the county prosecutor, they were friends with him. They knew who they were. He used to work with them in the past, so they just kind of let it go. Didn't charge him with anything, and not until a video actually came out, and the court of public opinion put them on the spot to actually do something.
That's how it's going to get done, and eventually is just a court of public opinion. I mean, it's so hard to change some people's minds on this, because if we're going back in history, there's back in the mid 1800s there was the Civil War, and the South went through a period of Reconstruction, what they call, back in the 1870s, and there was a resentment towards the North in a lot of areas. That this is just how it is ingrained in the culture towards the North in a lot of areas, and there was a lot of ingrained racism because they felt that the Northern troops were just occupying and telling them what to do and changing their way of life down south. And that kind of permeated its way up to law enforcement over the years. And throughout the 50s and 60s, there was many riots and different stuff through civil rights acts and legislations, kind of what we're going through now, but in a different way. But then in the 1980s, they passed a lot of anti-drug laws for small drugs like marijuana and stuff like that. And they put real high penalties on some of the stuff, and it was real high for the drugs that are more popular among the African-American people. They put the sentences way higher than they did for the white people, and so that ingrained a lot of institutional racism in the 80s and 90s. And we're just now kind of undoing that, really. Yeah. As a society, we kind of did that to ourselves, really, and it was kind of crazy how it just all unfolded. And people are just now drawn attention that the war on drugs was kind of useless.
Like the what was it? The kind of like a zero tolerance things, and then the 3 strikes law was basically, if you were charged with 2 crimes or whatever, and then you got a 3rd crime, no matter what it was like mandatory minimum 10 years.
There was guys in California. They had 2 crimes, and then the one guy would go to the store and he got caught stealing bread or something. He had to do life in prison for that because there was a 3 strikes law. I mean, that's ridiculous. That's insane. If you put that guy in prison, that his whole family screwed up, his kids aren't going to have a life to choose from. If for what? It's not a good way to do it. The United States has the highest rate of incarceration, even higher than North Korea. I mean, that's insane when you think about it. I mean, I can't even comprehend the amount of money we just waste in this country on prison systems and police and law enforcement. It just makes your head spin, man. It really does.
So
okay, go ahead.
I intend to take a diploma course, and I'm trying to apply for a culinary program in the United States. But then so many people have been telling me it is super expensive
Oh
to be in the
yeah,
United
oh yeah. I think that what's the Pittsburgh? The last one I looked up was Pittsburgh Culinary Arts or whatever it was out there, and it's almost as expensive as Harvard. Because basically you pay for your schooling and then you pay for all of the um, materials you cook with. So if you're going to
Yeah.
cook with this class, well, you're buying the prime rib that you have to cook for the class. You're buying the lobster tail and everything else that you're cooking, you know, for the school supplies.
For those programs, I mean, I don't, it's been forever since I've looked into college admissions, and I'm not an expert, but I mean, there's a lot of community colleges like Tri-C. I forget what she would know what Tri-C was, but like we live in a place called Cuyahoga County, is the municipality, and there's what's called community college. Cuyahoga Community College is the name of the school. Tom, look up the international rate for Tri-C real quick and see what the credit hour is. But yeah, a program like that. I mean, you can get a 2-year certificate or a 2-year thing, and that's an awesome thing. But then it depends on what you want to do with that. If you wanted to stay in the States or bring it back to Nigeria, something like that. Most immigrants that come to the States that I see that are cooks and whatnot, usually they'll get a restaurant. You see this a lot in like a lot of Chinese American communities. They'll open up a restaurant and they just work, and their kids will work up in the business too, and they start like that. Just depends on how the visa works, and how the I know the visa program is not exactly stellar right now in America.
No, it's tough, man. I'm trying to come here.
Right?
Yeah, but there's different, obviously different levels of school, and for as far as there's the associate's degree, bachelor's, that kind of thing. But there's also different things like community colleges are great because they're a lot cheaper, and you still get your college credits. And then there's state schools, and then there's like Ivy League schools. But I'm trying to look up now. Said Tri-C.
Yeah, it's probably like $200 a credit hour for international. I think.
Yeah,
I know it's like $100 for regular because they got like an in-county rate and a state rate.
Yeah.
We never established. Are you in your what? How old are you? Oh, we never even asked you that.
22.
22. Wow, I'm 43. So she's a baby. She's just getting it going. Gee, I have a daughter that's 22. That shows you how old I am. My gosh, our daughter's oldest is 22. She's gonna have a baby here in when's she gonna have a baby? August. Wow, 6 weeks. Man, I'm gonna be a grandpa. That's crazy. So how old is when you're in school in Nigeria? What is it? Is it like here in the States where you go up to, if you're 18, it goes up to 12th grade? What? How far do you go when it's just public school like that?
It depends on how early you start school or how I wouldn't say how privileged your parents were, but then some parents feel like their kids should not start elementary school. The elementary school, what you guys call elementary school, we call primary school. What you guys call high school, we call secondary school. So some parents don't think their kids should start elementary school maybe till the age of 3 or 4, whatever. It depends on the parent and the individual. But then I finished my high school when I was 16.
Okay.
That's pretty good. So I think it's just the out of school tuition rate. What, like 8 credit hours? You're looking at about $2,000 a semester.
Okay, so about $2,000,
$4,000.
So the 2-year degree would be about $8,000 American. So what? I wonder what that rate would be in. What's the currency in Nigeria? What do you guys call it? I didn't even look this up. I should have looked this up.
Naira.
Okay. I gotta see the exchange rate here. Let's see.
But
$1 US is about 368 Naira.
But the like the Le Cordon Bleu School of Culinary Arts that's in Pittsburgh, you're looking at $40,000 a year to go to school there.
That's really
40 grand a year.
Yeah.
Dude, I don't even make, well, like I said, make more than that, but man, that's a lot. Think about your whole, so 40 grand a year. If you got, say, well, I guess it's probably only like a 2-year school, but man, can you imagine 80 grand for, what do they teach you? I mean, what couldn't you learn that on YouTube? I don't know. That seems like a lot of money for an education, bro.
Well, we teach you the business of running a restaurant.
It seems like this is what my wife Kim over here loves, the cooking shows, so we watch a lot of the cooking shows. But I think a lot of those guys just, I think you're just paying for the name a lot of times. Wouldn't you say? Like, I trained with Bobby Flay or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's the certificate that you're really going for. But yeah, I think getting in cooking anywhere would be, the ideal, because it's not so much certificates nowadays. It's just experience. They want to see experience. They want to see time doing whatever you're supposedly doing.
Well, in the States too, it's weird. You'll have, if you're a cook at a regular restaurant, like we have a place called the Olive Garden. It's an Italian restaurant, or just a regular restaurant. A lot of times they'll just pay the cooks minimum wage, or you just get tips or whatever. But then if you're really good at cooking, that you kind of have your own restaurant. Like say I was real good at cooking it, and I'm not going to go work for the Olive Garden or somebody else. I'm just going to open up my own restaurant and call it Joe's Shack or whatever, and go from there. That's like the executive chefs or whatever, the people who are trained. That seems to be how it is here in the States. No.
Well, nowadays, especially with coronavirus, I think the best way to go would be have a food truck. You know what I mean? If you can make your own food truck, get like street food, and then get a Nigerian like puff street food truck. You have your own vehicle.
Man, a food truck like that in Cleveland would just freaking kill, I think. Especially because there's no, I think, and the only African food places I can think of, there's a small Ethiopian spot over there by the airport, Dennis, right? And then there's
no, they're not. Actually, a lot of people that eat there are Somali.
Oh, Somali. That's what it was.
Yeah.
Somali. There's a small Somali place over by the airport, and I think that's it because there's like a couple Mexican spots and one El Salvadorian place, and other than that, there's not really many, if at all. And that's kind of crazy when you think about it, because if you got 240 million people in Nigeria, and there's a lot of Nigerian-Americans. There should be a market for that. It's kind of crazy. That might be in New York, I would say. Probably New York or LA, bigger cities, not Cleveland though. But yeah, a truck like that would kill, I think. No.
Yeah, you find your niche, and then you could make bank, own business.
High school is from Nigeria, though. So and his mom actually was a teacher at our school. So, so he had him and his mother, who were both from Nigeria originally. Now he's a doctor somewhere. He's a physician, but I kind of lost track of him now. But last time I heard anything.
Now, have any of your do you have any more any things you wanted to chat about from your friends there?
Do I what?
What?
Oh, I just saying, do you have any more topics that your friends want to know about?
I don't think so. Because I spoke to a few persons before I came on this live, and I think the major thing everybody wanted to know was your perspective on the Black Lives Matter, and then we've spoken about it. So why we do not have, or I'm sure why there are no Nigerians at the moment watching this is because of the time. But as soon as we're done, I'm definitely going to be sending the links, because my cousins, my aunties, my siblings are all waiting to get the link to the video as soon as I'm done. And it's about 3:23 a.m. here.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, it's 10:23 here in Ohio, Cleveland. It's 3:30 in the morning. They're Zulu +1, so they call it West African time, West African Standard Time, something like that. I looked up, and so they're 5+5 from Eastern Daylight Time. So Zulu +1 if you're out there watching in military land. So she did us out, and thank you for that, staying up this late. This is late as heck for something like this. I do really appreciate you staying up 3:30 in the morning. I mean, that's crazy. I know you're gonna be tired as heck tomorrow.
Is that? Oh wow. Yeah, absolutely.
And Dennis is over there. Dennis, what time? It's not even dark yet. Where you're at? What, 7:30?
It's only 7:30 p.m. or 19:30 if you usually go by a 24-hour clock.
Yeah, you guys use 24-hour clocks over there, right? So it's not they don't do night. They do military time.
Okay. Do you use a 24-hour clock, or is it 12-hour clock? There. It's like yeah, like because I know some countries, like say maybe like France, usually they go on the 24-hour clock, so it's like 19:30, when we usually call that 7:30, like here in the U.S. So
we use a 12-hour clock.
Oh, okay.
Okay, good. The 24-hour clock's not too confusing, man. I guess if you're,
I mean, you always know what time it is when you look at the 24-hour clock, but a lot of
you
people,
technically know exactly what it is. Yeah, but you're so used to, like, when we go up through school, they teach you how to tell time, and you're just like, okay, I know what time 7 o'clock is. I don't know what time 1900 is. It's just ridiculously confusing. That's awesome. So, what? Oh, here, clear your shirt up. Clear your shirt. We're having fun, man. So let me ask you this: what is the drinking age over there in Nigeria?
Nigerians are extremely stubborn. I don't think they lay emphasis on drinking age, but then um, for the standard restaurant, the standard bar, I think the drinking age is 18. But
Okay,
then we are like Nigerians, like many of us are puffed in nature, like I am. I'm 22, and then I had to tell somebody I'm 22 before they get to even figure out. You can't guess right my age. We have so many people like me, and you can buy your way. Can't you see how big I am? I'm 19, and maybe I'm 16, and they give me a drink. So we have that a lot. But then I don't think there are like there are bars that stay strictly on you have to be 18 to get a drink now. So I don't think any average Nigerian would have an answer, like a genuine answer to this question. Mm-mm.
that's crazy. Because here in the States, like when you turn 21, it's a rite of passage. I mean, we go out, you're going to the bar, your friends are all going with you. It's crazy, man.
Yeah.
We kind of overdo it here. I'm not gonna lie, man. We party a little bit too much here in the States, I would say. Like we get crazy, man.
Depending on the place, they can be real strict with it too,
oh yeah,
because they're afraid again of getting caught, getting in trouble.
yeah. Where they won't let you in if you're under. Some places won't even let you in if you're under 21, even if you don't want to drink. So
Hey, Julia's joining us. Hi, Jules. What is the smoking cigarette situation like over there? This is just a random question, but like over here in the States, like you can't smoke anywhere. If you smoke cigarettes or cigars, you have to go, outside. You can't do it anywhere. Can you still smoke in like restaurants and bars in Nigeria, or how's that work?
We have There are rules, but then Nigerians are very good at breaking rules, laws, regulations. They hardly, let's say, 100% of Nigerians, then let's say about 80 or 85% of Nigerians will break the rule anywhere and everywhere. Might even might start up a fight because you're trying to tell them what is right and what you are not supposed to do. That is crystal clear, like it's super obvious you're not supposed to do this, but then they still wouldn't listen. So people smoke almost anywhere. You just have to get used to it or walk out. I visited a restaurant last week and about two guys were smoking. It was extremely hot and then I was not comfortable, but I couldn't talk. I don't want to get beaten. So I had to like just get what I wanted to get and then leave real quick. The atmosphere was not conducive. It was super hot. The smoke was, and then you can't say nothing and they are not going to leave until they are done. And for some reasons, I don't know, the restaurant owner does not think it's wise or ample to the business that they are going to inconvenience so many customers coming in. They don't care. So it's what it is. Go in, buy what you have to buy. If you see somebody smoking, but our big super malls, um our big shopping malls like ShopRite and other little classy places, they have strict rules. If you cross the rules, if you overstep your boundaries, they'll bounce you out. They've got like 12 security guards and all. But most majority of the places, there are no rules and regulation. Or they are, but people break them often.
Okay, yeah, 'cause over here you was 18 to smoke, and then they just raised it to 21 in a lot of places. So it's kind of weird. Because like if you're 18 years old, you can go out there, you can buy a house, you can buy a car, you can get married, you can vote, you can join the military, but you can't smoke a cigarette, you can't drink a beer. It's kind of America has built a whole culture on just tattling on people and arresting people for just laws that just really don't make sense if you think about it. I mean, well, what's a 19-year-old? If a 19-year-old wants to drink, what's the difference between that and a 20-year-old, 22-year-old drinking? I don't know, man. It seems kind of silly. The states, we put too much emphasis on stuff like that. Like, people are afraid to live. They're afraid of laws. Like, and we got over in Nigeria, traffic's backed up all the time. But over here, you could drive around and say you're going 25, you got 25 mile an hour speed limit, 40 kilometers per hour, something like that, and you're going 32 miles an hour, you can get a speeding ticket. That could be a couple $100. If somebody's out there making $8 an hour, $200 for a speeding ticket, that's a whole week's pay. That's a lot of money. It's not like that in many places in the world, I don't think. And but say you were getting a speeding ticket, what would or you're out there driving and they got pulled over by the police. Is there a charge for a speeding ticket? How would that work?
I don't think I haven't heard of it. Speeding ticket charge, but then I think the only thing Nigerian police would regularly stop you for on the highway is to check if your car papers are up to date, if your driver's license, you have a permit to be driving a car. These are the major things they will check you for. But I've never heard of speeding tickets. Nah, I don't know anything like that.
Man, no speeding tickets. I think you just sold everybody who's listening right now moving to Nigeria, because I could live without no speeding tickets.
Right, that sounds wonderful. Yeah.
Dennis, how much money would you have if you didn't have any speeding tickets? Man, you'd have like another $85,000 right now, right?
No, I've got like $400 in tickets in the last 2 years. So.
I got a ticket. I got a $204 ticket for texting while driving. 204, and it was only like 10 seconds. I was looking at my phone like this. I was changing the song on my on the radio, and the cop pulled me over, and I got a $204 ticket in court. Man, that's insane.
Wow.
The one ticket I got for having a tinted license plate cover, I think, was $95.
So did you? Oh, check this out. He was driving along. We got these license plates on the back of a car to identify what the car, it has a number on there. And he had a cover on there. There was a little bit tinted, so like a sunglasses thing.
Like a plastic cover. And mind you, in our state where we live in Ohio, it's completely legal to have them. So I drove into another state, still in the United States. It's illegal to have it there. So I got pulled over, and they gave me a ticket. It cost me $95, even though the car was like registered and licensed to be in Ohio. I was in New York State, and the Highway Patrol gave me a $95 ticket because of the tinted license plate cover on an Ohio car, Ohio registered. But if you drive into the state of New York, that's illegal.
This is how they fund law enforcement over here. They just find all kinds of stuff to fine you for, and they just keep raising the prices. I'm pretty old, so my first speeding ticket was back in 1993. That was before you were born. But check this out: it was only like $85. You just go to court and you mailed it in. Now that same ticket is $200. Prices of gas, or the price of everything else hasn't. I guess my wages did go up, but like normal people, you're not going to have that kind of money. That's just way more of your salary than it is typically. I mean, if you think of the minimum wage back in '93 was $4 an hour, $4.25, and now it's what, $8 an hour. It's back then that's 20% or 20 times higher. Now it's 12 times higher. So it's just more of the income from everyday Americans going to fund all this law enforcement activity. It's kind of silly, man, when you think about it. And then every state, there's 50 states, so every single state has their own laws, and you don't know the laws unless you look them up. So every state, you got to look up the law where you go. So it changes everywhere. It's so ridiculous. So, like, for example, firearms. Everybody in America, and in case you were wondering, not everybody, but most of America, we all have guns because we like guns in America. Now, Tom and Dennis, we both have guns, and Tom does. But in America, some places you can conceal. They do what's called concealed carry. So you can, have the gun on you, but you can't see it. So it's concealed. It's hidden. But that law changes from every state. So in Ohio, you have a concealed carry, and you cross into Pennsylvania, or you're crossing to West Virginia. It's a totally different set of laws. And if you don't know them, you can be arrested. And if you don't know like sometimes that could be a felony, so you can go to federal, you can go to like prison for like a year just because you didn't know the law in that state. It's that nitpicky.
Not here. You don't need a permit to carry a gun. Anyone can carry a gun if you can own one.
Yeah, and in Arizona, where Dennis is at, you're allowed to carry a gun. You don't even have to get a permit. You just buy a gun and carry it wherever. Like you're in a McDonald's, you can just put it on your back hip, and you just walk around. Hey, what's up? And spin around like it's freaking cartoon.
Well, there's I remember seeing a long time ago. There was a list of ridiculous laws that states have. One of them was, I think I remember it was in California. It is illegal not to have windshield wiper blades on your vehicle, right? So when it rains, windshield wiper blades. But it's not illegal to don't have a windshield. So you have to have the wiper blades, but you don't need the windshield to put them on. It's ridiculous laws like that are kind of funny.
Is there any places you how familiar are you with America? Besides Florida, is there any other places you'd want to visit? Like, say I said, hey, okay, here's a ticket to the United States. Where else would you visit? Would you say? Were you intrigued about?
Texas. I learned there are so many Nigerians there.
In Texas?
And yes.
Okay, I've been to.
A few church members, some people who attend my church that have moved to the United States, like about 12 to 13 of them, they all stay in Texas. And I still communicate with them till now. So definitely I would want to visit Texas.
Where in Texas are they at? Do you know the city?
No, I don't. It's like a WhatsApp group where, okay, the thing is, when a Nigerian moves to the United States, you don't want to be too up in their business, trying to know everything and where they are and stuff, except of course they tell you. So it doesn't feel like maybe you're trying to seek favor or you're trying to come there pretty soon and you're going to like maybe be a burden to them. So except they say like, okay, I moved to Texas and this is where I live. We don't get asked so many questions. Nigerians can be extremely let's say confidential about things,
Private.
about what they do, where they live, they want their private life. And that's to no fault of theirs. Nigeria is one of the African countries that have not they've not passed the I don't know what you guys call it, but then they still do the black magic thing in Nigeria. They still have the witchcraft and
Voodoo is what they.
okay.
I think it's like a voodoo. If you're familiar with
Yeah,
if you're over here in the States, you've ever seen the movie Get Out or something like that. The voodoo magic and stuff like that. Dark arts. I think that's what you're talking about, right?
yes.
Okay. Yeah, we have
So
that to a
really,
lesser extent here, but usually it's like Dennis, you know more about this than I do. I think like Haitian immigrants and stuff like that. Don't they have? It's quite rare. I don't know where they. There's not much of it up here in Cleveland, but the down New Orleans is a lot. I've been to Texas. I've been to many cities in Texas. Dallas, Houston, or San Antonio is where the Air Force. Me and Dennis, right down below me. How did I do below? Right here. He was in the Air Force too, and their basic training. Like the training when you first get into the service, that's down in San Antonio, Texas.
Yeah, a lot of time in Texas. So.
And then I got a buddy, and my buddy Mike lives in Dallas, Texas. So I've been to Texas many times. Texas is real. It's hot. It's hot. So if Nigeria is hot, you'd like Texas because it's hot in Texas.
Awful.
It's like right now in Cleveland, it's probably about 80. It's cooled down a little bit. But in Texas, I guarantee you right now, it's got to be at least 100. And
it's hot and humid there. That's why I don't like it there. It's just hot here.
Right here in Cleveland and where Dennis is at in Arizona, it's 110 degrees, but it's like cool though. It's no humidity. But yeah, in Texas, it'll be 105 degrees. Yeah. Like in Houston, it's probably 103 degrees and it'll rain.
40 Celsius or centigrade. We were talking about. So yeah.
Would you ever want to visit like Hollywood, California, Tinseltown, that stuff? Is that big out in LA or big out in Nigeria? Like say you guys went to the movie theater, what would be shown on the movie screen? Would you see like a bunch of American movies, a bunch of Nigerian movies? What goes on there?
Yeah, we have. It depends on the time, like the period. if there are so many Nigerian movies that were just recently produced at that time, of course, I think Nigerian movies will top the charts. But then when Game of Thrones came out, of course, Game of Thrones topped the chart like everywhere. Every cinema you went to, they they were to see Game of Thrones at every Nigerian cinema. It was double the price for a regular movie, and people were singing it. Like people wanted to see it every time. It kept on like that. It was like that for a month. And we had a couple of movies too. I think yes, Harriet showed in the cinema as well. I think Queen and Slim, yeah, it did show. A couple of movies like that did show in the cinema. Yeah, I
Have you?
learned Queen and Slim was shot in Ohio.
Okay. What was the name of that movie? Queen.
Queen and Slim.
You heard of that, Dennis? I never heard of that. We'll have to look it up.
Mm,
You watched did you watch all the Game of Thrones or just how did you like the Game of Thrones?
I did not see any season.
You didn't see any of it. If now I'll give you a warning about the Game of Thrones. I don't know how you feel about like violence and nudity and just horrible situations. If you don't like any of that, don't watch Game of Thrones because it's pretty twisted. It's not exactly a show that's family friendly. Like if you're into the church,
yeah.
I wouldn't watch it. I don't think I wouldn't sit around with my I go to a church too, but I would never sit around with anybody from the church and watch Game of Thrones because they would probably kick me out of the church. I think it was like that's so funny that's what you mentioned there. That's awesome. Now, when you go on vacation, now do you say the typical Nigerian was going to go on vacation? Would you guys just kind of just hang out and travel a local area? I mean, is there much going to the beach on Lagos Island there, or what would your typical holiday be like? Would you say, or just most Nigerians just don't take holidays, or what would you think?
Average Nigerians rarely go on vacation, except you have maybe okay. I'm going to be a typical Nigerian here. Your mommy sister or your daddy sister or your daddy brother, is inviting you guys over. It's been a long time. My nieces and my nephew or my cousins haven't visited. Can you bring them over? That's what we call vacation. And then you pack your bags. Daddy drops you off at his sister's place. We spend a couple of weeks and then we come back. That's our vacation. So it's not much going on. But
Besides,
then
Family
the
vacations.
few times
mm-hmm.
we
yeah, we
visited
did
the
all the time. When we were little, we did that all the time, and we would just drive to. I mean, how long it sounds like you take in traffic 18 hours to get somewhere. I mean, Nigeria is about half the size of the Eastern United States, I would say. So when we were little, we'd go to visit Washington D.C. or Niagara Falls or something, or Chicago. I'd say probably easily within driving distance compared to what you guys would do. Get the family in the old car and just go wherever. And nowadays, I mean, anybody just flying around is so cheap. They just half the people just fly. Do you guys have you ever been on a plane? Do you guys fly a lot? How's that work with airlines out there? You say you were at the airport with your uncle there or something.
Yeah, I flew last year to Abuja. It was
Okay.
18 hours, and it was the journey from Lagos to Abuja is supposed to be 18 hours, but then the roads have gone bad, extremely bad. You are most likely to spend 22 or almost a day on the road, and
Wow.
then it's extremely risky. You don't know what you might get caught up with along the way, so you just want to be extremely careful. My older sister lives in Abuja, and I was there last year to see her. So she was of the opinion that, just come a flight. Don't go on the road. Don't go on a road journey. I don't want to be scared, and it's most likely I run out of battery on my phone, and she's not able to reach me. She gets all paranoid, so she's like, just call me flight. So that was the first time I flew on a plane.
How many brothers and sisters do you have? How big is your family?
I don't have a brother, but four girls. I'm the third child. I've got two older sisters. One is married, the other one is engaged. I'm the third child, and my youngest sister is 16 and she's in college.
Okay. Do they both? Well, you say your older sister lives in Jew, but does everybody else live in Lagos, or how's everybody spread out? How did she end up in the capital and you're still out there? What happened there? What does she do for a living?
She's into skincare products and
Okay.
she's also a psychologist. So she works with a school as a psychologist in there. And her fiance, he lives in Abuja. Right now, he's in Florida. He's supposed to be taking the New York bar exam, but because of the COVID, I think he's going to have to wait a little. I don't know if he will be able to write it this August. If not, probably till next year.
Okay.
So
Now, speaking of the COVID and all that, what are you guys' restrictions out there? Did you guys get put on lockdown? Did they make you guys mask up? What? Because like here, they closed all the bars and restaurants for a while, but they kept the stores open. And then they said don't mask. But now they're saying do mask, but we got a social distance. What precautions do you have to take in Nigeria? Do they do anything? What's the deal there?
yes, they did. We went on lockdown for about 2 months and a few weeks, and then when they eased the lockdown, Nigerians started acting like there was never anything like COVID. People wore their masks, yes, but then there was no social distancing. Everybody would be choked up in the bus all together. They were supposed to reduce the number of persons that go on a bus at a period of time, from the regular number of people to maybe about half. So, they could like space them. But then they were not adhering. And Nigeria is quite tough, the prices of everything in the market has gone up, and you're asking these people not to carry a full bus to their destination, but nobody's going to give them money. Like there's nothing was provided for Nigerians during the lockdown because advanced countries were going on lockdown. Our president just decided, what, Nigerians go on lockdown as well. Not having to mind if you know those that were might not be privileged enough, might not be having food to eat or whatever. They just said, you know what, guys, go on lockdown, and then everywhere was on lockdown, no movement. If you're moving, you have to have like there must be a special reason. You're either an healthcare worker or what you do is like extremely essential to be working or to be moving anywhere. So it was crazy. So I think at one point, I did not blame Nigerians that were not adhering to the instruction
Right.
to
Yeah.
reduce the number of passengers in the buses because really it's not been easy. And I understand that they are trying to watch out for us, they're trying to stay safe, but then these people do not have food to eat. They've been on lockdown for almost 3 months, and then you're asking to take, okay, let's say a bus would contain 18 passengers on a normal day. You're asking them to take 9 passengers. Who's going to pay for the rest? Really? So it's like, and then no money was provided before the lockdown and after the lockdown. No, take these guys, just something little. Banks started to deduct money from those that were banking with them outrageously, saying it was for some card and this and that. And within the period of lockdown, so many banks in Nigeria donated to the country as whatever, I don't even know what they called it, like huge amount of money. So it
Oh, yeah,
was it was not, I don't know, they didn't do the right thing really for me and for so many people that I've spoken to over time. The lockdown was good. It was for the benefit of the country and the people because trust me, if we did not go on lockdown, the disaster that was most likely to have happened in Nigeria is not something we can handle. Yes, like the healthcare system is not efficient enough to handle, general or massive breakout. Uh-uh.
That's how it wasn't here in the States. They just, I mean, like every state, well, yeah, we were talking earlier with, how every state has different laws and whatnot. The problem here in the States was every state did it differently. Like some governors instantly, they just shut down everything and and they closed the bars and everything. Other states, they kind of waited a little bit to see what happened. And now in some states like Georgia, Florida to a lesser extent, opened up a little early. And then everybody went to the beach because it's nice weather out. And we were locked down during spring. We had snow like a month and a half ago. And now, so what's happening is the curve got flattened a little bit, but now it's going back up. So in America, it's just a hodgepodge of just, we don't know really what to do because, for one, we didn't really fund healthcare. We're supposedly the richest country in the world, but if somebody gets sick, if check this out, if you like, say I got my arm broke, okay, and I have insurance, and they called the ambulance, and 911's our emergency number. So if we call emergency forces, we got a fire or sickness or something like that, we just call 911. If we did that and they took me to the hospital, the emergency room, it would cost me about $4,000 if I didn't have health insurance to get that fixed. That's insane amounts of money. I mean, because people just don't pay medical bills anymore. I mean, like if you were to go to the hospital and have a baby and you didn't have insurance, I mean, they would charge you $35,000, $40,000, $50,000. If you have a high risk pregnancy, you could be talking $150,000. I know this one lady, she had a baby. They had to put her the baby in intensive care for like 2-3 months. The bill was over almost $1 million for that hospital. And the medical care here in America is ridiculous. The amount of prices they charge people. My dad, he did like 3 months in the hospital. He was in and out of the Cleveland Clinic, and the bill was $2-3 million. I mean, it's the amount of money they spend. I mean, that's more than I made in 30 years. The amount of he's been in the hospital for 2-3 months. I mean, that's when you think about that and the amount of money we spend here in America on whatever. It's just mind-boggling. And so if I want your friends to know anything about the U.S., is that we spend way too much money on stupid shit in this country, and we don't know how to stop.
And you see like people's itemized bills, and they'll get like an aspirin that you could buy at the store for like a bottle for a couple $, but you get it in the hospital, it's going to cost you $100 for a single aspirin, because then they tack on all the other fees. You basically buy the entire bottle and then pay for the nurse's salary with it.
It's not lying. One aspirin is like $35. You could buy a whole bottle of aspirin for $2. If you go to Mexico, you buy a whole bottle of aspirin for a quarter. Then it's how much was aspirin in Mexico? 50 cents, quarter? Not even?
Yeah, something like that for a bottle, yeah. Yeah.
Because what America does, they spend, we don't regulate, socialism is a bad word in America, but we don't fix the prices of our healthcare. So like, for example, Canada, to the north of us, they have the same drugs we do, the same care typically, but the government regulates the prices, what they could charge. So like, somebody goes in to get a surgery, they're only going to pay $50. Here in the States, we're going to pay whatever. And, God help you if you don't have insurance. The way we treat our citizens is kind of stupid in that regard. Wouldn't you say that too, Tom? I mean, it's kind of horrific.
Even if you do have insurance, you could be screwed over. Like your example, like you break your arm, you go to the hospital, you break your arm, and what they do is called in-service coverage, where basically my insurance, like Joe's insurance, works with this local hospital and they're in coverage. But there may be a specific doctor at that hospital that isn't covered by that insurance. So if I go to the hospital, everything's covered except for I get surgery on my arm, but the doctor isn't working with that insurance because he works with another insurance company. It's not covered. So then I'm on the hook for that $40,000 repair for my arm. And what are you gonna do? Then I still can't work because I got a broken arm. I can't. And so the bills are due. All right, let's go. And so they take you to collections, and people lose their lives over something they can't even control.
Right. And even people who don't, even if it's something beyond your control, like not even the breaking a arm. Like say you have a baby and you can't pay the bills or something like that. Even if you have insurance, like Tom's example of where you have insurance and it's an out-of-network doctor, you could spend my insurance right now. I pay about $300 every 2 weeks for insurance. If I go to a doctor and it's not a network, I would still have to pay the full bill, even if the network insurance didn't cover it. I mean, it's just such a complex system, and nobody can even understand it. Is the thing. If you go to the doctor, check this out. If you go to the doctor and you say, "Hey, how much is this going to cost me?" They cannot tell you. They don't know how much it costs until you're done. Think about that.
Wait until you're billed. I mean, yeah, I for my insurance for myself, my wife, and 2 kids, it's almost about $6,000 a year before we even walk into a hospital.
Even if you don't get sick, you're still spending $6,000. That's for some people. That's like a quarter of half their salary for a year. I mean, that's oh my gosh.
And so my wife she's due this month. She's due July 21st for our 3rd kid. And yeah, I'll get the itemized bill and I'll let you know how much it costs, because it'll tell you how much it was before insurance pays for anything. Because what they do is they charge you, $40,000 for a baby, whatever. And then the insurance will say, we can pay 30. And so the hospital's like, okay, you can pay 30, but then I'm on the hook for, some other portion of it, not the remaining 10, but whatever copay and other fees and things they got. I mean, and that's best case scenario with just 2 days in the hospital.
Some hospitals, do you remember that one report, Tom? They charged of the baby's mother a cuddling fee to hold your own baby. They charge like $100. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah, so it's skin to skin is what they call it. As soon as your baby is born, it's like, do you want to hold the baby as soon as it's born? That's an extra fee.
They charge you for holding your own baby.
Otherwise, we're going to take your baby away, and then what we're going to do is we're going to clean it up and check its temperature, make sure it's breathing okay and everything else. But normally, the baby's born, comes out, whatever, breathing okay, let mom hold it. That's going to be an extra fee. There's fees and fees, multiple fee.
That's the thing. This country is just so ridiculously expensive. If you're not doing anything, you just stay at the house and you don't do anything. It could be reasonably cheap, but if you want to do anything or get any services, it's just so expensive. Anything, man. Concerts.
Even if you want to stay at home and you own your house, you still have to pay property taxes on that house forever.
Forever.
Right?
So even after I pay off my house, that's right. Even after I pay off my house, say, whatever my house is, $90,000 or whatever, and usually it's about 15 to 30 year mortgage. Even after the 30 years is over, you still have to pay taxes on that for as long as you own the house, no matter what. So you can pay $1 million in taxes if you live to be 150 or something.
And if you
never stop, man, never stops.
Yeah, you don't pay your property taxes, the county will come and take your house.
And then you get thrown in jail, and then you repeat the whole cycle of what we were talking about the whole show. It's ridiculous. All right, before we get out of here, do you have anybody you want to say hi to? Any you just talking about aunties, uncles, something like that? What anybody will say hi to who's listening? Maybe listen later on after you go to bed.
Okay. I'll say hi to my friend. I have a friend from Ohio. I met him on Facebook. So hi to Thomas, and hello to my sister. Hi, Fermi. Hopefully they'll see it. Definitely they will, because everybody's waiting. I'm sure, like, as soon as it's maybe 6 in the morning or 7, I'm sure my siblings will be on here to watch.
Yeah, it should be fun.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's a great show. I think it's gonna be 4th of July here in America in about an hour. It's already the 4th of July over there in Nigeria right now. But yeah, we've got a great show today. I'd like to thank our special guest. Let's say your name again so I don't mess it up.
Ojo Oluwadamilola.
I'd like to thank her for stopping out. I'd like to thank Hernan for stopping out. I'd like to thank the wife Kim for joining me for the first time ever. She had a couple things to say. I'd like to thank Dennis there in Sedona, Arizona. Tom down in the thing in the home studio there in North Olmsted. As always, if you're out there, like and subscribe. If you're new,
good to see you.
Watching us from Nigeria or wherever across the world, please subscribe, because the more you subscribe, the more cool shows we get to do like this, the more we get to talk to fun people, expand your horizons, learn more things, and just have a great time, man. Thanks for joining us so much. And we're going to have the after party here in the green room. So thanks for joining us, Ochem. We'll talk to you later, okay?
Hope you get some sleep.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, get some rest. Right. Bye, guys.
Have a good one.
All right, we're clear.